Hi guys! So I just wanted to let you know that this video was recorded like months ago. I actually made this DM screen in, I want to say like July or August of 2024. It is now almost February. So I've been sitting on this video for a while, one, because it takes a lot to edit all the different pieces of this one, but also because I only recently finished literally like 2 weeks ago, like the laminating the last part of the screen. I will also add kind of at the end my overall thoughts now that I've used it for about 6 months. So bear with me when you see me in shorts outside. It was actually warm at the time, not cold and snowy as it is right now in PA. So without further ado, let's get into it. I don't know what those hand motions were, but you know. This is what we will be making today, a DM screen that actually looks nice and that I'll actually use. I'm tired of those generic ones where there's just a bunch of information I don't even care about on there. And so I was trying to make one that I would actually use. And so here it is. I made it so that I could take pieces off as well, because I'm playing things like draw steel or things with other rules, and I didn't want to make a DM screen for everything. And then I also have a special side with stats for my players, and these are all laminated so you can use them as dry erase. I also have special Dreckenheim stuff on here. I also put one on my desk when I'm on Foundry, and I also put things like draw steel. Quick tips when I was playing that was on this board. I did end up cutting a hole for it later for the cords of my keyboard to go underneath, and it does now live on my shelf behind me. Here's what I used for this. So I have obviously cutting utensils. I have a paper cutter that helps cut straight. I have some rulers as well as some magnets in strips with an adhesive on it so I didn't have to glue it. I have, and the black discs, of course. I've got a black marker as well as a pencil for measuring, black chipboard. I have a circle hole punch just for decorative aspects, as well as a pile of different scrap papers and cardstock that I either had or I bought a couple sheets. I also have this glue, which I've had forever, but it's really good, really tacky glue. Of course, a bowl and something to apply the glue and some clear coat for the finish. I also had this tape. This is bookbinding tape. My bookbinding tape was super old, and so it wasn't the best. And then I had this hole punch. It's actually not a hole punch, but I used it as a hole punch for the disc holes. First was, of course, cutting all the chipboard to size. I actually really struggled with this because my paper cutter was not the best for this. And I also wanted the middle to be lower than the ends. Very particular, and you'll see I like reference a drawing I had of this as well. Next, I used bookbinding tape to adhere pieces together. Bookbinding tape is pretty flexible, so it can open on a hinge. They use it for outer covers when they are broken. My problem was that my bookbinding tape was old, and so the outer edges were not very sticky, and I had to cut that, try to fold it over and crease it and things, and leave a little bit of a gap for a hinge. Honestly, I might reapply new bookbinding tape to the whole thing, which is kind of the nice thing about this, is I can just cut it off and then put it back on. We'll see. It's been holding together pretty well for 6 months, and so I'm pretty happy. But yeah, highly recommend you get new bookbinding tape because this bookbinding tape is probably like 5 to 7 years old. I'm going to speed through this part pretty quickly, but one thing I did do was use a straight edge to line up the bottom of the chipboard to make sure that it was all the same height and that the bottom would be even. Highly recommend that you do that. I wanted to be able to use some of my disc-bound notebook stuff and papers to kind of flip images over. You can see it in one of the videos where I talk about my in-person setup, but I like to put images on the other side. I haven't done that as much as I thought I would after 6 months, but that's mostly because of prep time more than anything else. So I took my disc-bound punch and I punched holes in the top. And for the side, I actually used one of my pages to measure out 2 holes, the top and the bottom. I think honestly I should have just measured out more holes, but I use a hole punch and then a pair of scissors to kind of make that mushroom hole. These did not work very well. I ended up just laminating the page that I wanted on my DM screen and just sticking it via magnets. This is mostly because there's nothing on the other side to hold it, so I was using a magnet anyway. But the idea was, you know, good at the time. Next, I added the magnets. I bought some magnets with adhesive on the back, so it was just as simple as cutting them and then adding them to the boards. So the thinner one you see here is the one I use in front of my computer, and I just kind of eyeballed it and put them on there. For this one, I just did on the top because I didn't need anything to hold it on the bottom. But for the bigger version, I actually have 3 rows of magnets on the end pieces and then 2 in the middle to hold it. The next part was actually the fun part. I have these old pages or books that have illustrations in them that these books don't have covers anymore, so I'm trying to like reuse the pages. I also printed like maps out, some of my own art that either looks too close to the reference source that I was drawing that I don't want to sell it or anything, but I like the image, and some of these have like animals in it. So I went through and just picked a whole bunch of different images and I start trying to lay them out to kind of know where I want things to be. I also use a circle hole punch just to add like some perfect circular designs on here, something to break things up, something to put a little bit of decor behind some of the images. So that's what you see me doing here. Once I had a general idea of how I wanted it to look, I actually take a picture of it with my cell phone and then I use that for reference. Otherwise I would forget for sure. Then I just start gluing. I use some of the scrap. So I had some scrap board that I used to kind of catch extra glue so I can glue the entire piece of paper. One thing I wish I had done a little bit better is I know that this kind of PVA glue takes a little bit to dry. So you do want to put something like heavy on top of the items to let it dry flat. I knew this, but I just had a brain fart, and so it is a little warped, but it's okay, it works for me. Once everything was glued down, I took it outside and I sprayed it with a matte clear coat just to protect it. So if I throw it in a bag or, you know, spill something, hopefully it doesn't ruin it immediately. I actually did this like 4 or 5 times. So this idea did not come out of just nowhere. I actually watched a few video tutorials online. Ideally, I would love to do one of those screens that has a like actual LED screen in it, but I don't have the time for that. And this works well enough. And usually in person, I have a screen on the table anyway for maps. So I don't really need another screen, but I always found that like the standard screen was just not right for me. And so I never really used it. This one now I actually use, one, because for my Dragonheim campaign, which is where I typically use the screen in person, I actually have the stats for contamination on there, and I've even put other things on there like the random encounter table, and it actually makes me actually use my stuff, and I'm not shuffling through papers the entire time. But this idea did come from somebody else's video, and I'll put a link down there below because they do it differently than I do, because obviously I add the discs, which I mentioned I don't really use the discs as much as I was hoping that I would. I do have ideas for things that I could make for the shop that then I would add on for the discs. Actually, the real reason is I don't have a color printer at my house. I will here in the next few weeks, so that might change, but my actual good printer is with my office stuff for Cantrips Media, so I don't actually have a good printer, so I stopped printing black and white images for it. I do like having that screen for when I'm playing at the computer as well. I know that you could just look things up, but for me, especially when I was playing Draw Steel, one person actually made a quick guide and I just cut parts of it out and stuck it on my board. I wish I had a picture and I don't. I will say that I measured it to a height that my computer was at before I moved some of my office stuff in here. Now I have 3 screens up here, and so it has to be a little bit lower because the one screen doesn't lift up. So it is a little bit covered on the bottom of the screen. I haven't done it on this computer, but typically I put my taskbar at the top of the screen. I just haven't done it for this computer for some reason. In the 6 months though that I've been using it, it has been way better for me. I only just recently laminated stuff, and one thing I am going to do is have to find magnets that are a little bit stronger than the ones I purchased. As soon as I find one, I'll update the links and put them down there. But the magnets I bought just aren't quite strong enough for my liking once it got laminated. When it was just paper, I was just sticking it on there and it was perfectly fine. And I did that for months because I wasn't sure what I was going to use on my DM screen. And so I ended up not laminating anything until literally 2 weeks ago, right before my Dragonheim game 2 weeks ago. Now that I have it laminated though, it's so much nicer. I'm not worried about the papers bending. I can just pile them all up into a little folder and like go. It's been super nice. I can see myself adding different things to the screen as the campaign progresses. So I'm really enjoying that. Even like monster stats, I know I could just laminate them and put them up there, or even just make the cards and disc bound punch, or do the disc bound punch on the top of the cards and just put them in like that as well. Like there's so many things now that I can do with my DM screen that actually feels like a functional piece for me. I really like it. I highly recommend making a DM screen of your own that works for you. I hope that you guys like this video. I hope that this gives you ideas for your own. If you do end up making your own DM screen, please join my Discord and tell me about it, because I'd love to see what you keep on yours. I'm always looking for ways to stay organized at the table, as well as like wondering what I should be putting on my DM screen, especially now with the 2024 rules and things being slightly different. I don't know if you noticed, but we also have the magazine out now. Patreon members are gonna get extra stuff. So if you're a Patreon member, or you considering being a Patreon member, not only do you get all the video content ahead of time, but also with no ads, you can also get a digital or physical copy of the magazine that way. So go check out those tiers. But on top of that, we're open for submissions. So please, if you have anything that you've made, whether that's character art, maps, one-shots, not just for D&D, although obviously D&D is the big guy, so we will include a lot of things for D&D, but I have somebody who is submitting stuff for Shadow Dark. I have somebody who is submitting stuff for Draw Steel. So any tabletop game is great. I want to put it in my magazine. So submissions are due February 15th, which is really only like 2 weeks from now. I'll put a link down below, but you can go to everydaydragons.com to get to the submission link as well. I do need to update the website. Hopefully I do that before this video comes out, but no promises. So I hope that you guys submit some things to me. A special thank you to the Thaumaturgy tier of patrons. Y'all help me do this for a living. So thanks. I will see you. Hi, Flint. I will see you guys. What's on your head? He had rice on his head. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.